There's an extraordinary moment in versions of the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice when Eurydice has been truly transfigured, and so she no longer recognizes Orpheus. She's now in another language, and therefore Hermes, who is supposed to be the messenger between them, loses his own identity, his own function. And so it's a kind of, at that level, a myth of linguistic metamorphosis as well, of transfiguration. And so the poet can't just grab any girl he wants and bring her back, to put it simply. The next one is 184. This, as I was mentioning the other day to the students, I'd forgotten the origins of this piece, but I was what they call them, slow adopters of technology. So it took me a while to confront the terror of the computer, the word processor. It took me quite a while. But on the other hand, compared to some people, I was fairly early. I don't know. But I still can't operate it, so it doesn't matter. But I got one of these little early Apple computers. And it was, still had not been delivered. But I started having these terrible nightmares. And I knew it was going to be downstairs, a glowing screen. And I was wondering, will this now start processing language for me? Will it start writing my poems? I didn't quite understand what word processor meant in English. And so I had a number of very sleepless nights before this thing arrived. This apocalyptic vision of various kinds of atomic destruction and the Civil War in the United States and so on came out of this machine that hadn't arrived in my house yet. A word is coming up on the screen. Give me a moment. In the meantime, let me tell you a little something about myself. I was born in Passaic, in a small box flying over Dresden one night. Lovely figurines. Things mushroomed after that. My cat has 12 toes like poets in Boston. Upon the microwave she sits, hairless. The children, they say, you are no father but a frame waiting for a painting. Like who dreamed you up? Like gag me with a spoon. Snow falls, winter, things are aglow. One hobby is Southeast Asia, nature another. As a child I slept beneath the bed, fists balled. A face appeared at the window, then another, the same face. We skated and dropped, covering our heads as instructed. Then the music began again, its certainty intact. The true dancers floated past. They are alive to this day as disappearing ink. After the storm, we measured the shore. I grew to 4 feet, then 3. I drove a nail through the page and awoke smiling. That was my first smile. In a haze, we awaited the next. You said interior colors. You said antinucleons. You said, do not steal my words for your work. Snow falls, winter. She hands out photographs of the Union dead. Things are aglow. I traded a name for what followed it. This was useless. The palace of our house has its columns, its palms, a skull in a handcart. I removed a tongue and an arm, but this was useless. On Tuesday, Freud told me, I believe in beards and women with long hair do not fall in love. Is there discourse in the tropics? Does the central motif stand out clearly enough? In this name, no letters repeat, so I cannot be fixed. Because it's evening, I remember memory now. Your English I do not speak. A word is coming up on the screen.
Et kommer op på skærmen. Giv mig lige et øjeblik. Lad mig i mellemtiden fortælle lidt om mig selv. Jeg blev født i Pasiak i en lille æske, der fløj over Dresden en nat. Yndige statuetter. Tingene tog derefter fart. Min kat har 12 tær, ligesom digter i Boston. Hun sidder oven på mikroovnen, hårløs. Børnene, de siger, du er ingen far, men en ramme, der venter på et maleri. Ligesom i Hvem drømte dig frem? Ligesom i Knippel mig med en ski. Sne falder, vinter, tingene gløder. Sydøstasien er en hobby, naturen en anden. Som barn sov jeg under sengen, knyttede hænder. Et ansigt viste sig ved vinduet, så et andet det samme ansigt. Vi stod på skøjter og lod os falde, mens vi dækkede vores hoveder, som vi var blevet instrueret i. Så begyndte musikken igen, dens vished intakt. De rigtige dansere flød forbi. De er i live den dag i dag, som forsvindende blæk. Efter stormen oprådte vi kysten. Jeg voksede til 4 fugle, så 3. Jeg pressede negl gennem bogsiden og vågnede smilende. Det var mit første smil. I en tåge ventede vi på det næste. Du sagde interiørfarver. Du sagde antinukleoner. Du sagde, stjæl ikke mine ord til dit værk. Sne falder, vinter. Hun uddeler fotografier i Union Dead. Tingene gløder. Jeg byttede et navn for det, der fulgte efter. Det var ubrugeligt. Vores palads af et hus har sine søjler, sine palmer. Et kranium i en trækvogn. Jeg flyttede en tunge og en arm, men det var forgæves. Tirsdag fortalte Freud mig, jeg tror på fuldskæg og kvinder med langt hår bliver ikke forelsket. Er der diskurs i trupperne, står det centrale motiv klart nok. I dette navn gentages ingen bogstaver, så det kan ikke fastsættes. Fordi det er aften, husker jeg nu erindringen. I et sprog taler jeg ikke. Et ord kommer op på skærmen.
The next piece, that was a prose piece, of course, and the next one is also, and it came about at a time when I had been working in the early days of the National Endowment for the Arts, when there was a thought that the United States government might actually support the creative arts. And so this drove the right-wing congressmen, particularly a couple of Texas congressmen, Tom DeLay and Dick Armey, into a frenzy of rage and horror. And it was almost as insulting as medical the medical care bill, for example, is now to them. And they singled a few of us out who were on the literature panel. We had funded all sorts of people, but among them outright gay people who were out of the closet, and actually people of color, things like that. Obviously an outrage. And so they read a couple of my poems into the congressional record in order to accuse me of being a pornographer and a pervert. It was wonderful. And the amazing thing was, these poems of mine, they hadn't been able to find my work because they don't have books where they come from. And they had dug up an obscure little early chapbook of mine, and they'd taken a couple of rather poems with no sex in them that I could think of. To illustrate what a pornographic writer I was. I thought, this is magnificent kind of deep reading that they're doing. I've clearly missed something. This is great. Anyway, this was my response at the time, sort of one of my responses, one of the oblique ones, upon being questioned by the members of Congress. I have answers to all of your questions. My name is the word for wall. My head is buried in that wall. When I leap over that wall, I think of my head, I can assure you, and into the garden, paradise, broken bottles, tractor tires, shattered adjectives, fragments of a wall. The sky beyond on fire, this is true. The hills beyond a glinting gold, also true. And you, married to that clown, that ape, that gribbling assassin of light, your daughters will avenge you. And into the garden, paradise, the soldiers, their rifles, their boots, their eyes narrowed, searching for a lost head, or a stolen head, the head of a pornographer. There, I've said it. Pink nipples grow hard as she brushes them with her lips. Moans can be heard coming from poems, poems you, Senator, want desperately to read, but will not let yourselves, since you are a citizen, proud and erect. And out of the head, laughter, tears, tiny bubbles of spit. It is a head from another century, the last one or the next.
Jeg har svar på alle dine spørgsmål. Mit navn er ordet for mur. Mit hoved er begravet i den mur. Når jeg hopper over den mur, tænker jeg på mit hoved. Det kan jeg garantere dig. Og ind i haven, paradis, knuste flasker, traktordæk, splindrede adjektiver, fragmenter af en mur. Himlen bag i brand, det er sandt. Bakkerne bag et funklende guld, også sandt. Og du giftede dig med den klovn, den abe, den snøvlende snigmorder af lys. Dine døtre vil hævne dig. Og ind i haven, paradis, soldaterne, deres rifler, deres støvler, deres øjne sammenknebne, spejtende efter et tabt hoved, eller et stjålet hoved, hovedet af en pornograf. Så, nu har jeg sagt det. Lyserøde brystvorter bliver hårde, da hun gnider med sine læber. Støt kan høres komme fra digten. Digte du, folketingsmedlem. Desperat ønsker at læse, men ikke giver dig selv lov til, fordi du er en borger, stolt og rank. Og ud af hovedet latter, tårer, små bobler af spyt. Et hoved fra andet århundrede, det sidste eller det næste.
A short poem on 191, which I'm always been fascinated by street names in Paris in particular. There's one called the Rue des Ciseaux, the Street of Scissors. And I had a brief, not very serious incident with someone once who said, "Well, you're a very different person now, aren't you? That now that you're published and famous." And I turned to her and said, "In America, no poets are famous. Are you crazy?" But I did sort of troubled. I wondered, have I become self-infatuated in some odd way and changed my demeanor? I don't know. I killed a bee on the Street of Scissors. The bee was holding a picture of me. A woman walked past. There is a time before," she said, without turning her head. "Then you carried no ink. Then you were not a photograph."
I'm sorry,
191. How are we doing?
It seems to be missing here.
Oh, yeah?
That's in my print, so.
Okay, we'll just have it in English then. Do you have 192? By any chance?
It's 2 years.
You're supposed to translate the whole book. Okay. We're moving towards the end here. We're running out of pages. This next one, which has no title, is dedicated to Ernst Jandl. And a kind of spirit of Dada. I had been thinking about the amazing culture of Vienna, Freud, the painters, the psychoanalysts, the poets, and Wittgenstein, the architect. I am an architect in Vienna, dead, and a writer in a blood-red bed. I eat with a fork the meat, the violin. I've let go my practice of this violin. In Vienna there are no musicians. Is my violin broken again? I asked at age 9.10. So then I sat down and was going to get rid of this violin. I can't play it for beans anyway. I'm an architect in a town of architects, no buildings. All my brother architects are dead or else asleep with their sisters in bed. Call me Eric, whose grandfather mended the violin, whose mother once taught me to hate the violin and play dead. I've designed a circle and a bridge. My tears are for the person I miss, the down on her lip.
Jeg er en arkitekt i Wien, død, og en forfatter i en blodrød seng. Jeg spiser med en gaffel, kødet, violinen. Jeg har opgivet mig at øve mig på denne violin. I Wien er der ingen musiker. Er min violin gået i stykker igen, spurgte jeg en alder af 9-10. Så derfor satte jeg mig ned og skulle til at skille mig af med denne violin. Jeg kan under ingen omstændigheder spille på den for småpenge. Jeg er en arkitekt i en by af arkitekter. Ingen bygninger. Alle mine arkitektbrødre er døde eller sover i stedet med deres søstre i sengen. Kald mig Erik, hvis bedstefar reparerede violinen. Hvis mor engang lærte ham at hade violinen og spille død. Jeg har formgivet en cirkel og en bro. Mine tårer er til den person, jeg savner, uden på hendes læbe.